Conference 2 is coming up, and I wanted to take a little bit of time to go over what you need to have for this. Basically, they'll be taking place November 14th through the 17th in my room, my office, which is room 2218-08. This is the second conference that we will be having, and you will need to document the work you have completed regarding revision, reading, and research. We went over what this means in class, and I'm just taking the time now to review these three areas. What you'll have to do is create a Word document and basically divide the document into three parts. And the next set of slides will explain what these three sections are. The first section has to do with revision, and what I'd like for you to do is to list the different revision activities you have worked on since the start of the semester. Use page numbers from your notebook when appropriate. That means that you have to go into your notebook and number each of the pages that you have written from beginning to end. You should be thinking about what this activity means and what you've done in terms of the revision process and what you've learned as a result. So given the work that you've completed, what have you learned regarding revision? This is the main question for this section. I want you to write a couple of paragraphs. Don't just put these paragraphs together in a haphazard way. Really take your time and make sure to revise and edit these as well. These will represent you in terms of your writing ability as well as the work that you can do with revision. Imagine showing up with a couple of paragraphs on revision and the paragraphs themselves are poorly written. The next section is reading. What have you read since our last conference? Provide titles of books, chapters, and articles. Some of you may not be reading our book entirely, meaning you may be focusing on another book, another novel, or something else. Make sure that you provide the chapters that you've read from those other books. What have you written as a result of your reading? Where can you find these texts in your notebook? Provide the page numbers for these. Have you annotated any of the readings you have done? Bring evidence to our conference. That may mean that you have to bring your book that you've written on or the article itself. Any evidence that you've analyzed the reading for main idea, purpose, overall organizational patterns, supporting details, and elements of coherence. This may be in your notebook, or it may actually be as part of the annotation. Either way, bring evidence of this. Finally, you have your reflection question. What have you learned from the readings themselves? Provide at least 3 or 4 well-written paragraphs, and the same applies for this section. Make sure that this is revised and edited well. The third and final section is research. Describe the research that you have done since the last conference, and this means that you probably are going to use the research that you've done for the Jesus and Alinsky assignment. I'd like for you to provide an MLA citation for the 2 articles that you picked up for this assignment. I didn't ask you to do this earlier, but I'm asking you now. Make sure that you copy the MLA form that's available in the article itself. If you go back to the database, you could click on the Cite button on the side panel, and you will get what the MLA citation looks like. What have you learned about the research process? This is an important question, and one that I'd like for you to answer again in a couple of paragraphs. One thing that you might want to focus on is the importance of publication names and dates. What can you learn by looking at these 2 things, the name of the publication and the dates? What have you learned regarding reliability and articles coming from the databases, or articles coming from, let's say, a search from Google, or even something as Wikipedia? And then provide at least 2 or 3 well-written paragraphs reflecting on these and other themes you have explored as a result of doing your research. Okay, once you're done with these 3 sections, you've written up your document and it looks nice, and you've cleaned it up and you've revised it and maybe shown it to a couple of people, I'd like for you to upload the document to turn it in. And it's the same basically as in the previous, at least with essay 1 that you were working on. Go to turnitin.com, upload the document. Make sure that you do so at least 24 hours before our conference. The last thing that you need to do is to make sure that in your group you have at least 1 person who sets up an appointment with me, and you could do this through TungleMe, and the link is provided. If you're in the Monday afternoon class, the Monday 250 class, you'll note that you'll have two opportunities, not only with me, but also with Alex Salinas. And I will provide the link for his Tungolmi as well.